have a special guest here with me. His name is Ronald Walker, and he's from over on the west side of Michigan, and like Grand Rapids area. So I'm from the Metro Detroit area, and it's really, really good to have somebody come in there from a different part of the area and see where they're at, see what they're doing, see what their area is like, and see their perspective. He's been doing it for a lot longer than I have. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to bring him on. All right. How's it going, Ron?
It's going freaking awesome, Randy. How are you?
Oh my God, that's awesome, man. I'm happy to have you.
Well, I am. Exactly. I appreciate you bringing me on, man. I'm excited to just have a conversation about real estate. This is what I do. What I do every day, right?
Most definitely.
Turning deals, talking to people, building relationships. That's what it's about, man.
We wanted to see how did you get your start in this? When did you get it? What brought you to real estate in the first place?
Mm-hmm.
And so I want to start at the beginning.
Yep.
What made you choose real estate? And what was your entry into it?
Yeah. So, in the Star Wars movies where Obi-Wan Kenobi comes to Luke Skywalker in the first movie, and he's like, you got to come with me. And Luke Skywalker's like, nah, I'm good, bro. I'm going to stay at home, right? He wants to do it and go. That was my interaction with entrepreneurship. And and the way that kind of played out was I grew up under, my dad was an entrepreneur. Okay. So my dad owned an asphalt maintenance company, and I grew up sleeping on the paver. And there was a lot of stuff that happened. There was a lot of craziness being an entrepreneur and the way kind of it was run. And I just didn't want anything to do with it. So, which is funny because when I was 16, I actually approached my dad for seal coating, and I was like, hey, can I have half the jobs if I find them and do it? I want half to work if I source it. And so I kind of had a little entrepreneur in my blood there. But I moved to Texas from Alaska, and I got a job at, a regular job at Sprint, the phone company. So I left that job and I got a job at JP Morgan Chase. I was just a private banker, the guys you see that sell you a credit card when you walk into the bank. And about 8 months, I got promoted to the private client division. And we were managing money between $250,000 and $10 million. And so how I got into real estate is one of my clients that I'd helped for quite a while, developed a relationship with him, one day did a $3 million deposit. And I'm like, dude, how do you make $3 million deposits? This doesn't make any sense. And Randy, I called him, and he always answered my phone call. And I said, hey man, what do you do? Seriously, what do you do? You just made a $3 million deposit, right? I mean, I was more, cordial than that. But that was the essence of it. And he's like, well, I'm in real estate. We just flipped an apartment complex.
Okay.
And he's like, I've been doing this since the 80s, blah, blah, blah. I gave his spiel. And he let me take him out to lunch. So we started talking. He pointed me to a group called Lifestyles Unlimited in Dallas, Texas. And I joined. Well, I didn't join, but I went to one of their free seminars. And one of the guys gets up on stage, and as he's on stage, they're talking about rental properties. That's their main gig. And he gets up on stage and he says, I decided not to keep this house, so I wholesaled it, and I made $18,000 in 3 hours. I'm like, yo, if this dude can make 18 grand in 3 hours, what am I doing? Right? This is nuts.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm like, what the freaking heck is going on? So that was my introduction to wholesaling. That journey just kind of led me to where I was just seeking opportunity, right? I was looking for it. I was seeking it. And when I finally bought that course and I spent more money on marketing, Randy, I did my first deal. I actually they sent me a check in the mail, the title company, and that was for $3,000. And I didn't quit my job at that point. I didn't just jump off the bandwagon. But that $3,000 changed my life. And it changed my life because it proved to me that my actions, I could be the captain of my own fate, right? Like I could do it from beginning to end. I didn't need anybody.
Yeah.
And that since then has only grown in the sense of, you know, there's a vision, there's a goal, there's a trajectory, and I can bring people along that journey with me to accomplish all our goals and desires. And so, man, real estate is just a fantastic way of doing that. It's not easy. I like to say it's the simplest hard thing you will ever do, but it can totally create the life of freedom you want. You know, I've been to Ireland 3 times. 2 of those times for over 3 months. One was during COVID. We have traveled all over Europe and been able to do deals while I was traveling, right, remotely from over there. And so I would never have been able to do that if it wasn't for real estate. And I owe all of it to this industry. And
a deal that has how should I put this? A nightmare of a deal. I want to bring that in, and then what is either the best deal that you've done or the most memorable deal? So we'll do 2 ends: the nightmare and the best or more memorable. It doesn't have to be the best; to be the more memorable.
So probably the nightmare deal that I did was probably actually one I just did recently. So I moved up to Grand Rapids from Dallas, Texas 3 years ago in 2019. And, you know, coming from Dallas to here was quite a shock for me in the types of houses that are available. You know, in Dallas, there's slabs everywhere. Everything's brick. Foundation problems are not a big deal. You know, you put in a foundation budget to everything. You just put up a couple piers in and you adjust it. When I moved up here, the houses were different, right? I mean, I have a house right now. It was built in like 1883. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't see that kind of stuff in Texas.
Right.
And so getting into this market was actually quite challenging. You know, you think, I've been doing this for, you know, at that point, 7 years. When I jump up in here, it's going to take off. It was not like that for me. As a matter of fact, I lost like that first year just by marketing and just, you know, from stuff and not doing the deals and not understanding and not having the buyer connection. I lost like 60 grand that first year. And part of that was getting to these old houses that aren't structurally sound, right? That you have to come in, gut it, but then you have to re-level the entire house, right? You got to get it structurally solid first and then build up from there. Well, that takes quite a bit of expertise. It's actually quite a bit harder than, say, even a new build. And a lot of that stuff wasn't there in Texas. And a lot of my rehabs in Texas were very cosmetically oriented. We might have ripped out walls and repositioned stuff, but it was different. It was easier. And so I bought a house and we rehabbed like the whole house. My budget was $70,000. And dude, we rehabbed the whole house and it wasn't right. And due diligence, you do not want to skimp on due diligence. And one of the negatives of starting as a wholesaler is you don't really focus on due diligence and all of the intricacies of making money. And when you buy a real estate deal, Randy, we should constantly looking at what are the possible ways for us to make money on this deal, right? How can this deal make the most money? Rental, land contract, creative, fix and flip, wholesale, right? When we get a deal, we should be looking at all the different options. Well, what happens is if you're just wholesaling them most of the time, you don't get really good at due diligence. You don't become that contractor. You don't need to be, but you do need some experts on your team to walk 100%. You through it. And so that was my biggest learning. And I learned more about construction and that deal than I had learned in 7 years in investing, Randy. Like I learned how to foundationally rebuild it. I learned how to shore a foundation. I learned how to deal with water problems. I learned the structural side. I learned how to re-level each individual floor. Right. I learned the whole process because I was very hands-on once we had to restart.
Right. For everyone out there who's watching, this is why you want to be friendly with a wholesaler. Okay. You want to be that person that you text and they call. You don't want to wait until you get on their list just to get on their list and get that email. Because I've done it myself, and where I come up, I call a seller. Hey, how's it going? I got this deal over here. You know, we're probably going to be selling it here, but I'm looking. Hey, you know, come take a look at it. Tell me what you think. Blah blah blah. Okay, click. I get it under contract. He says, okay, I get X amount of dollars. That's me making about 10, 15 grand. All right, sold.